is the windmill issue. And I know a lot of people are going to wonder what the mayor's stance is on the windmill issue. If you have a stance, or if you have, or if you could just explain to them where the mayor's department comes into play, if at all, on the issue.
I appreciate that. What I've said from the beginning, and what I will, I guess, continue to hold, is that we are neutral on the issue. I hate to be political about it, but we really, from the city's perspective, we don't have any room for, there's just not enough room within the city limits to actually have a windmill. And so we kind of feel like it is definitely a county issue, county driven issue.
Right.
I think there are definitely pros and cons on both sides. I have my own personal opinions, but as for where the city stands, and where the mayor's office, if you will, stands, we're neutral on the issue. I think, like I said, there's pros and cons to the issue. The commissioners, I think, and the planning department and all the individuals over at the county that have worked really hard on this, I think have thought out just about every angle that you can think about. They've spent a lot of time.
Yes, they have.
and I'm sure there's been a lot of sleepless nights. I know there's been a lot of comments on both sides. Many angry on either side as to whether or not, they should or shouldn't have, what the setback should be, property rights, all kinds of good things in that way.
Right.
But from the city's perspective, we really have no official opinion.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling. It seemed like it was an issue where if you're going to put windmills, you're going to be far away from the city. And I just wanted to clarify, or at least give the mayor's department, space to say, look, this is a much more of a wider area. And
yeah, absolutely. I think that last I had heard, they were talking about 1,500 foot setbacks or something to that effect. And there's just no way here in the city limits that you'd be able to find a place where one windmill would be able to be available, let alone multiple. So
right. Well, hey, that has been such a hot button conversation around here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so aside from that, what is going on in the city that we haven't covered that you'd like to make people aware of?
Well, a couple of things. We've switched limb pickup from the alleys to the curbside. That's been I've gotten some flack about that, and I understand where they're coming from, but this actually will save our street department a fair amount of money. First of all, we have 15 miles of alleys that we had to go through. Now we've moved everything to just the street. So that will help in a lot of ways, time wise, gas wise, so on and so forth. But furthermore, when wood piles would be in the alleys, when you pick up that wood, stones and other kind of debris would get caught in to those pieces of wood and would eventually either hang up the piece of machinery, would dull the blades, things like that. So it puts us in a position where actually moving to curbside is going to be more cost effective when it comes to machine repair and maintenance. So there is some drawbacks in the fact that, it will be in the front of the house rather than in the back of the house. So it will be in plain view. But we don't see that would be any different than what, let's say, a recycle bin or a trash bin would be. We pick up limbs once a month. I believe it's once a month on each street, and so we cover the whole city multiple times throughout the summer. So that's one thing that's happening. Another thing that's happening that I'm excited about is that we are actually looking to hire our first full-time human resources director for the city. For most people who have been in or around government, how at times government can be inefficient, and it can be there can be a bit of a lack of oversight. So what my goal or motivation in hiring a human resources director is that it can be someone who takes a lot of the burden off of the clerk treasurer's office, who happens to be right now handling all of that. Even though if you notice with the term clerk and treasurer, human resources really doesn't fall into either of those categories.
It doesn't feel like it does, right?
That's right. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And we have a wonderful clerk treasurer in Rosie Coyle. She's great at what she does, but there will be a time in which she won't be in the office anymore. And so having a human resources director will really help improve our efficiency, will help improve when it comes to hiring and firing people, making sure that we're following safety compliances with OSHA, with our utilities. And furthermore, one of my hopes and one of the first projects I'll be giving that human resources director would be to put together an evaluation system of all of our workers and department heads, that every year they get evaluated, and then instead of just doing a flat across the board, everybody gets a 20 raise, or everyone gets a 10-cent raise, that it would be based on the evaluation system, and based on evaluation of, could be, well, there's a lot of different ways of doing it, but based on their performance in the last year, that will determine how their pay will either increase, decrease, or stay the same.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to go for that job, where would they put their resume?
That's a great question. We actually have just posted on Facebook a couple of days ago. You can go to Facebook and get all the information. You can also go to our city website, which is www.columbiacity.net. I believe that's right. I hope that's right.
I'll verify it.
I'm still 3.5 months in, so you have to give me a little leeway on that. But we'll also be publicizing it in the Post and Mail and the Journal Gazette in the near future.
Okay.
And you can pick up applications. Like I said, you can either go to our website and get more information, or you can pick up applications here in City Hall at the Clerk Treasurer's office.
All right. I have a question about you have construction down the street from my house on 100 South. They put in a new bridge, and I noticed that when you're going over the bridge, it gets really bumpy on one side and the other. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, someone told me that they are able to fix that, but they have to wait until better weather conditions.
Okay.
Do you know anything about that?
Well, typically on roads, and again, this is coming from little experience.
Right. That's
fine. But I will say, in regards to roads, typically speaking, what happens is when you have the springtime, you have the rain, you have cold and hot, different hot and cold temperatures. And I think asphalt as a whole usually sits better in warmer temperatures.
Okay.
So I think that's part of it, but I think furthermore, they don't want to seal in liquid or moisture underneath that road, so that when winter comes and that freezes and expands, it doesn't just break right out.
Right, gotcha.
That's typically what happens with streets. On 100, you talk about the bridge project specifically, on 100
right.
South and on Old 30, both of those bridges are actually outside the city limits.
Oh.
So those are all county projects.
Oh, okay.
But they are obviously Business 30 specifically is a huge gateway into our community. It'll be neat to see that bridge finally completed and open that stretch back up for us.
Hey, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come out and do this. And you have a good day, and I hope that we can chat again sometime real soon.
Thank you, sir. Have a great rest of the day.
Okay.